Hello and welcome. Janine Brawley here. Excited to be connecting with you once again. We have a powerful topic this week, and it is all around how to harness your power using the universal law of cause and effect. So you know by now, hopefully, that I'm all about being in your power, connected to your truth, your essence, embodying all of you, living more deliberately, intentionally, right? Being that powerful creator that you are, so you can have the life, the business, the relationship, the health that you really want. So let's dive in. And, obviously if I asked a whole room full of people, do you feel like you would like more power or more abundance, or would you like to have more impact with less effort, right? Like, would you really like to own your full power? And obviously everyone would probably put up their hand and go, yes. So the paradox here is that we already are powerful. We already are abundant. We already are, powerful beyond our measure. It's our birthright, that's who we are at the core. But most of us have forgotten, right? Most of us have forgotten. And I did a live, as well as a training on this around remembering the truth of who we are, that we are already whole, complete, powerful. And so I'm not going to go into that right now, but we have forgotten that it's our natural birthright, and that's who we are at our core, right? So what I want to do today is shine the light on a universal law that helps us to potentially, to significantly affect owning, harnessing this natural power and abundance that we have in any of our lives, whether that's in your business, career, clients, health, relationships, whatever it may be. Okay, so I've shared with you universal laws. If you're not familiar with them, they govern the universe. They don't work just Tuesday, Thursday, and every other weekend, right? They're not just for the, people that live in the Northern Hemisphere. They're not for just the upper class or people at a certain height. So it's law. So use this to our advantage, right? We can go, oh, that's the law, right? And we won't fall prey to, certain situations. We go, oh, right, that's the law in action, right? Also, great way to get rid of drama, right? We just realize what it is. So the law of cause and effect states that every effect, which is your result, your outer circumstances, what you've created, has a specific and predictable cause. So every cause or action has a specific predictable effect. So that means everything that we currently have in our lives is an effect, and that is a result of a specific cause. So bear with me. So if the effect is our results, our reality, what we've created, and the cause is what we caused it, you might think, well, duh, that makes common sense, Janine. But we often make that connection when it's obvious or simple, or when we want to take, our accolades and go, yes, I created that, right? So if I dropped a glass and I smashed on the floor, right? The cause was I dropped it, and then the effect was I smashed it, right? Obvious. If I talk about, let's just say I landed this new contractor client, and I go, well, I created that. I put it out there, and this is the effect that I created, right? So those things are obvious, but where it gets a little bit trickier is when things don't go our way so much, right? And when we don't see it for what it is, we're not fully in our power, right? So let's just say I put something out there and I didn't get the contract. Things didn't go my way, right? I go, yeah, but that was because of Tom, Dick, and Harry, or Bob, or Joe, or the government, or a teacher, or, right? Anything outside of myself but me, right? That's actually violating the law, right? Ooh, don't want to violate the law. And I'll expand on that in a minute, but we need to take 100% responsibility to be fully in our power. So I want to give you some examples that will help shed the light. I'll use some simple examples, and then some that might hopefully not, but could even trigger you. Not that I'm trying to trigger you. But every cause, remember that, every cause has an effect. Every thought, every little mind chatter, every little judgment, everything has an effect. So take that in for a sec, right? So what are you causing? What are you creating? We're always causing, we're always creating, right? So if you use the analogy of a garden, right? You've heard, it's a biblical saying, what you plant or what you sow, you reap. So if in your garden you go and you see Brussels sprouts, right? But you wanted cucumbers, and you need to go back and go, well, what did I plant? Because what you plant, what you sow, you reap, right? You will always reap what you sow. So if your garden or your outer world or the effect out there, you're looking at it, what are you growing? What are you growing out there? That's your effect. By what you planted. And so if you're not either liking your effect or you want things to change, or maybe you want to grow to a new level, right? Whatever your area of your life, we need to go back to the cause. Typically what people try to do is they just try to fix it out there, but we need to go back to the cause. And what I want to highlight is often it's our thinking or our beliefs or the stories we tell ourselves. And we can really own that. There's so much power, right? So being that truth teller and reverse engineering, right? We know that our thoughts, if you reverse engineer it, we know our thoughts turn into feelings, give us feelings. There's a vibration, that feeling, and we send it out, ends up with our results, right? I'm simplifying it a little bit. So if we use an example such as a business, if you're producing with feelings of anxiety or uncertainty or unsure or a bit of fear, right? We got to make sure we're not sloppy thinking, right? We're so good at we don't think about thinking as sloppy. We think of eating could be sloppy or dress sloppy or makeup or hair could be sloppy, but we've got to make sure our thinking isn't sloppy. So if we're having thoughts like, will people think I'm too much, or will they reject me, or is whatever I do, is it too expensive? Is it, are people going to be mean? Am I good enough? Maybe I don't know enough, right? Are we putting thoughts out from that perspective, or is it more thoughts? Again, if I'm using the business example, if people want to work with you, for example, is it knowingness or excitement or expectations, right? It's very, very different energy when you're starting from this cause, right? So you're going to get different results in the outer world. So that's a more basic, simple example. If we use a personal example, again, don't shoot the messenger, but it is interesting because we make the connections in the obvious, right? I dropped the glass, or and smashed, or I put something out. I put something out and someone bought. But when it gets a little bit trickier, we put something out, whether we realize it or not, and we don't get the results, or things don't look so great. We don't usually want to take that responsibility, even though we may be very responsible, taking personal accountability. But I want to lift under the hood, dig a little deeper. So just know that we need to be 100% responsible and super open, because when we do, we shift this way of thinking, it can be a very powerful way to show up in the world. So a lot of the conversations I've been having, not just recently, but for the whole time I've been working in this field, working with people, and it seems like there's a common conversation around people that have people in their lives, let's just call them thorns in their side. You might have some other choice words for it, but let's just say you've got some people in your life, whether it's an ex, a family member, a coworker, maybe it's a family. I said that family, maybe it's a friend, right? Let's just call them a thorn in your side. So it's such a conversation, and the conversation, well, let's back up. You could be the sweetest, kindest, most generous, loving, giving, compassionate person, and you have this thorn in your side, right? And you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. That's I didn't bring that. That has nothing to do with me. That's just fluke or coincidence, right? And so I want to share a story, because I had this one woman I was working with years ago, and she took 100% responsibility for her amazing kids, 100% responsibility for her amazing home, 100% responsibility for her side hustle, her gig she had on the side from her full-time job, which was thriving, took 100% responsibility. But she came to me and she was sharing that she had an ex and coworkers, and that were thorns in her side. They weren't what she would have liked been in her life. And it was a bit of a pattern, right? But it was just there's no correlation, zero responsibility. couldn't see it, wouldn't see it, no connection whatsoever. And it had been a pattern for a while, and it was also a pattern in the men she was dating. And so we eventually looked at it and I came from a different angle, and she was able to reframe it. And I share that because this was a very, very bright, successful woman. And it is how we, we're proud, and we've got this pride, and we take accountability, responsibility. And there's certain areas in our blind spots where we just don't want to look. And that is giving away our energy and power, right? So we need to reframe that. So it doesn't mean that you need to make yourself bad or wrong. It just needs to be tweaked, right? Maybe there's some thinking or some stories you're telling yourself, and it doesn't mean you just spend hours digging into the past, right? It could be simple as you just realize, like, oh wow, like some of these people in my life, what the thorn was is they're just not there for me, and they're just not the way I'd like to be treated. Well, maybe we need to reverse engineer that. Maybe there's some thoughts that we've got on, or some stories or patterns that, maybe I need to be there for myself, right? So just reframing that, and then, okay, well, how can I show up different? Going back to the cause, right? If I was, cause and effect, well, gee, maybe I could show up a little different and be more loving to myself, be more available to me, right? So what is it that we need to shift at the cause level, right? Effect, cause. And a great way to reframe that, a lot of people go, well, why did I attract that? Why is that in my life? Why is that effect? Why, right? Why did I cause that? Just, what is this for? Gets us out of victim mode, and it also just puts us into curiosity mode, right? What is this for? So just a quick little exercise if you want to apply it. I'm all about applying, integrating, embodying, putting into, immersion. So really putting this into practice is just choose that one area that you want to change. Could be the thing that's the loudest, or that needs most attention, right? Maybe more clients, more money, a better relationship, maybe a new relationship, more money in the bank, whatever it might be. It also could be that you're at a certain level with your income. Let's just say you want to grow it. So it doesn't have to necessarily be something that you don't like, right? It could just be like, well, you always do what you've always done. You always get what you've always got. So it's like, well, here's where I'm at. Like, let's just say it's 10K a month, right? And you want to go to 15. Well, if this 10K is your effect, your result, right? Your outer world, your garden, right? We've probably been planting or causing it because that's just where our level of thinking, right? So if you want to grow to 15, you've got to have a mindset. You've got to have different thinking and a different story and a different pattern so you can grow to 15 so it shows in your garden or your outer world, right? And just do that with love, right? A lot of people go, they could kind of get down on themselves as they do this process. Just, get curious. So now, if just a quick little recap, if you're not liking those results, or you want to change or grow, use that law to reverse engineer and go back to that cause, right? So you're cleaning up that thinking, cleaning up the beliefs, cleaning up your stories, making sure we're not, what I sing, sloppy fingers, sloppy thinking, right? So change the cause to get different results in your outer world, in your garden, right? So, and know also, as humans, we get to choose. We get to choose our thoughts. We often don't rise above our five senses and actually choose differently, right? We kind of go on to, autopilot, right? But, certain animals, all animals and species don't get to choose how they want to think and feel. So we have that power to think beyond our circumstances, beyond our five senses. So use that power to your ability so you can change the cause, shift that cause to create different effects in your outer world. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you found this insightful. Always open to feedback. And until next time, have a fantastic week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.